Oh, and we're live.
Okay. All right, Rose. So we've come out of executive session, right, Rick, with a motion?
Yep.
All right, old business.
Oh, and no action was taken during executive session.
Oh, and no action was taken during the executive session. Yes. I figure I would know that by heart by now, but kind of moving along. Okay. The next order of business is old business.
Old business is old business.
Old business.
I didn't have anything to put on here.
You have nothing?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll move into new business. Go to page 6 with compliance.
Okay. So I think, let me know what you think. For part of your governance report, I think it makes sense to put this report in the
audit packet.
In the audit, well, in the board packet, and then I'll put and then I think I was thinking, there's a large amount. I put this year, and I hadn't had it the year before because we didn't do it, the comparison of 2020 versus 2019. One of the things I want to say is, number one, this is compliances of 8/4/2020. So the compliance below that was like best case scenario after 7 months of chasing. This is now only 3 months in. And one of the projects that was missing documents, got the rest of their stuff in last night because they had misunderstood how to fill out the packet. And then the projects that are underperforming, there are some that were an issue last year, but I would say most of them are because of COVID, honestly. So we could just go through quickly. It's hard to see if you print in black and white like I did, but the ones that are red are the ones that were not compliant for one reason or another. Amthor Welding Service, it's 0%. They clearly have employees, but they've refused to report anything to us. And they have not paid their late fee.
So I think where the governance board feels that we should report something out to the regular board, we should mention that here. So it's my understanding, Rose, correct me, Amthor is being dealt with. They're going elsewhere for their bond, and we won't have to deal with them any longer.
Yes, we're having them refinance their bond, and Joe will have an update for us at the board meeting.
Okay, good.
What about Star Estates?
Hold on, you're skipping.
Okay.
Sorry.
I am skipping. I'm going through and I'm looking at the ones that are banging me out here. Yeah.
Benedictine Hospital is still only at 58% because they're still working on that construction. Joe will have an update on a letter we had talked about in one of the board meetings to have for Westchester Medical. I told him I have to have it by April 12th as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we getting a letter, or is he going to tell us why we're not getting a letter?
Oh, no, he'll have the letters by April 12th.
Okay.
But, one of the things that is important is that they did cut jobs, right? So maybe they would have been higher with their number here if they hadn't gotten rid of jobs.
On that campus also over at the Benedictine Hospital, it's not just the new wing that's being built, it's the renovation and the rehab inside the current hospital, which they're moving people
if they hadn't gotten rid of the, Okay. Central Hudson, why it's 0. It's a substation. There are no employees.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Next, Full Moon. I'm amazed that he had 41%. Honestly,
I am too. He was shut down. Yeah.
It was so bad. I can't even imagine being them. So he's doing everything he can to stay afloat. I mean, I don't know that there's anything we could possibly say.
Yeah. Well.
Gardner Library.
Are you happy to announce something?
They're never gonna have 100%. I don't.
Yeah.
They don't have that many full-time equivalents. It's a lot of part-time people, and so I think this was a matter of not understanding what an FTE was at the time. I don't know, but this isn't COVID related. They kept everybody. They paid people through the pandemic, etc. ABO says that we're not allowed to just blanketly say COVID, it's fine. But we did also do site visits and discuss all of this with everybody. and discuss what their issues were. So I mean, there's nothing really to recommend to the board on some of these, right? I mean, you'll stop me if you do.
It is what it is. They provide a great public service.
Yes.
Just leave it be. They're up to date with all their fees and everything, right, Rose?
Yes,
They're all
they
in
are now.
compliance.
Yes.
Let's just move on to the next one.
Okay.
Mhm.
The old Golden Hill had a late fee. They're in compliance now. They were late on their reporting. It's
Mhm.
fine. It's done, and they're done as a project.
I seen the letter. Good.
Yep. Holiday Inn Express Lake Katrine Darien Lake is at 55%. I know we discussed our other projects are doing fine. Our other hotels had a more tangible number, and then also I don't know, but we're
Rose,
working on that. We'll have an update at the next board
What's
meeting.
important about this one, and I know we all know that, just to remind ourselves again, this is pre-COVID.
Well, Rick, it is for,
Question mark.
the other two are pre-COVID too. I see what you're saying. I apologize. Yes, he was going back beyond COVID and saying that's when it started in 2019.
He's not
Yeah.
been in compliance since the project.
Yeah. And right now, Rose, he's currently totally out of compliance. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know what to say. He submitted his documents, but he's
Right.
at 55%. And even the other hotels did well this year with their, so I don't know why he seems to have such a problem finding people. And I also think 27 was not a reasonable number for employees for a hotel.
Well, this is the guy that we had at one of our meetings, and he in effect admitted that
It was overstated. Yeah.
it was overstated. So
Yeah. He said he
This-
inflated the numbers. They
this
inflated,
goes-
he said the previous partner inflated the numbers,
Well,
which he was a
also-
partner also.
yes. Yeah. Innis
Mhm.
is still only at 2 jobs, but that's because they're still under construction. And
Mhm.
so they're fine. They're in compliance with that. But we were missing the information to verify because, like I said, they did submit their stuff on time. It's just that they had filled it out incorrectly.
Mhm.
And so I was waiting to get the corrected information.
Okay.
So they're in compliance, and I'll fix that for the next board meeting. Next one is Rocking Horse Ranch. They're no longer a project, but again, I don't think we need to explain why a resort would have compliance issues during COVID, right? They couldn't,
Mhm.
they were at half capacity. They did the best they could.
this is the first year that I can remember that they've ever been
Yeah.
under. So
Yeah,
it's COVID.
they've done well.
And I know the ABO said you can't say COVID related for everything. Well, what would you like us to say?
Well, you can't just blanketly say that. You have to talk to them and see what
And
happened.
we know that
And
from
we
our
did do that.
visits.
We did that.
Which-
That was the point of the site visits. Yeah.
Right.
Star Estate is still under construction, which is why they have 0 employees.
Okay.
The Star Estate, I also want to bring up, it came to light at the same exact time, and then I would have seen it on their annual reporting anyway. But they've not paid their tax payments for 2020. I know their 2019 payments were late. They said it was because they weren't getting the bill. Somehow they're supposedly still not getting the bill. I'm not sure why that would be, but they've called me upset in regards to a letter that we had Joe send them last week saying, pay your pilot or we will put you back on the tax rolls. Because if you have a pilot, everybody should pay their taxes, but if you have a pilot, you especially need to be paying your taxes.
And this is greenhouses you're talking about, right?
This is Star Estate.
Oh,
Star
so this is Star Estate.
Yeah.
So Star Estate, and I had a conversation about it. He called the Department of Real Property, asked what he needs to pay yesterday, and they said, we'll have to get back to you. So he was frustrated because he doesn't have an amount to pay. I can't give him that amount because now it has interest and stuff on it, so I don't have an updated amount.
Okay.
But the other thing that's happening that'll mitigate this going forward is that he's refinancing and Rhinebeck Savings Bank is setting up an escrow. I know that for sure because Rhinebeck called me about how much should be in the escrow. So going forward, I don't think it'll be an issue, but it is something I think we really should take seriously, people paying their pilots, you know.
Okay.
The Emerson, it's still not closed out, and it was an error on our part back in 2018, which is why we've been very lenient with them. But I think at this point, I was thinking it's probably time to stop being so lenient, because it's their counsel that we're waiting on, and now we've been waiting for 6+ months. So we continue to report that they have 0 jobs. It brings down our numbers. It looks bad on us because they're not just closing out the project.
Okay.
So I was thinking we should send them a letter. Does that sound
Yeah,
okay?
if we haven't already done so, absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Next
Greenhouses?
one. Yeah, greenhouses.
Okay.
Obviously they were greatly affected by COVID. Number one, we already know their job numbers were overstated. They've agreed to changing the pilot to better match the jobs that they've created. And then like I said, COVID, it's literally, although it's got some hotel rooms, it's mostly a wedding venue, an events venue.
Mhm.
They've done the best they could, but like there's nothing going on to be able to employ that many people during 2020.
I think henceforth, that's why we're revising the pilot. And he was changing the dynamics of the business, correct?
Yeah, he was doing that as well. So
Right.
all of these things taken in, I think we're already doing the right thing with that one. There's not much to revisit there.
Okay.
The Kinsley was at 53%. There's a 2-part problem. Number one, not all the places are up and running still. So he's still under construction. And number two, again, COVID, the biggest employer that they have of because they have different operations kind of happening, the biggest employer is the restaurant. The restaurant was shut down. Then it was just had people dining on the street, which was only like a couple tables. So again, there's not really much they could have done. And even still, they're under construction. Their pilot is already ticking. It just, I don't really know what else you would do here for this one.
It's okay.
Yeah. Ulster NH, this one is a problem for me. They should have been at 330 employees, and they're at 62%. When you go up to Golden Hill through August was at 103% of their 290 jobs. I don't understand why Ulster NH is at 62% of their 330 jobs. I did receive an email that things weren't great there, but I don't know how true it is. And then I know Saul had told me that he was having trouble finding CNAs, etc., that they had raised rates and whatnot. I think they have 0 room. They don't have an 80% window like everybody else. So I think we need to bring them before the governance committee at the very least.
I agree. Part of that process when we went through to redo the pilot after the cell from Dr. Baki, we did have specific things in there outlining what we expected.
We were very
so
clear.
Currently at 330, they're down 126.
Yeah.
Jobs, and
that 330 was taken from actual numbers. Like I made sure there wasn't just somebody saying 330. I made sure and checked the FTEs myself with the calculation. So I'm very concerned as to why.
Well, I remember it was very contentious, and Rick will remember this too, because Rick was really, on that. I mean, like the rest of the board, but that they stayed at the current numbers, and there was nobody released. Now, my thing is, where did everybody go?
Yeah.
Okay. And if that's the case, and you laid off or furloughed all these people in the midst of a pandemic where you need it the most, what was the brand of thinking there? And we're finding out.
There were obviously issues with I hate to say it, there were issues with COVID deaths there as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you're understaffing, I don't know that, we'll have to ask about what happened, but I think it just sheds light on why it's so important.
Yeah.
To look
Yeah, there was a lot of specific things in that pilot that we as a board felt that we could create, a culture up there and move from there and continue with this. And then after, even with input from the public about, with COVID and all the other places were being.
Public had concern because
of, and it's coming to light now, and it's really coming back to roost.
So
and, we need to address
it. I have not been able to, because I had to wait for the ratings to come out. I would like to go through the specifics of their pilot, meaning check the Medicare ratings and get more details on the nursing hours, etc. And then invite Saul to the next governance meeting. And we can discuss all of these things combined. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I agree with you 100%. We got to bring him in front of the board because, if anything, we have to be good stewards to the seniors that need care, and that was part of this whole process with this pilot. So, we need to get Saul in here.
Now, at the next governance or at the board meeting?
Yeah. You know what? I'm thinking at the board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
not just the government.
All of this and ask Saul to come to the next board meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
So Rose, just to refresh my memory, and I think Mike said it, they're the ones that gave us the number of 330. That's where they were when we renegotiated the deal.
And
yes. And so in effect, if they're only at 62%, you're saying they're only at 204 people.
Yeah. And if you go back up and look, Golden Hill through August had 290 times, hold on, 103%. Sorry, I know the calculator people hate that noise. Golden Hill had 299. It was down from where it was when I had checked the numbers for whatever reason, but it was still at 299. Why are we down to 206? Like, I don't, what happened there?
So they were at 290 or 299 in August of what, 19?
For January through August of 2020.
So we renegotiated. So we found that out. How do we know that?
Because they sent us their information for the year-end reporting. I need the year-end reporting from both projects, the old project and the new project.
Okay, so the old project sent the year-end reporting, the 2020 reporting, and said through August they were at 290.
299.
And so what happened? Okay,
I don't know.
We got to find
August out. That's what I'm asking.
Between August and December.
Where are the jobs? Where did they go?
It's a little bit terrifying.
Did they count stuff wrong? I mean, they weren't exactly.
No, these are the verified job numbers. This isn't what somebody reported to us. This is checking the payroll journal.
Yeah, so us insisting on a number was to ensure a level of care. So if they're down to 204, they're giving a level of care that's potentially a hell of a lot less than.
Yeah,
it's an issue of concern at this point because, moving into this, there was no COVID-related incidents either at Golden Hill.
No, not one.
And I don't know the exact number, but I know it
changed in the fall.
It changed significantly after the owners changed hands, and this was something that the public was really concerned about also on this. And this is why we thought we were putting in the proper safeguards to try to hold this owner's hand to the fire. So yeah, let's get him a letter and bring him in front of the whole board. Okay. And
I was really just honestly disheartened when I saw that one. It was to change that quickly.
Yeah. And maybe Saul has some kind of information that we
have to get more information.
That's correct. That's correct. So
UPAC. I cannot even believe they're at 77%.
I am amazed because
they have done an amazing job. I thoroughly enjoyed my site visit with them. I don't remember who was with me on it, but it was amazing. I can't even say that enough, like how much they've been able to do through the pandemic. I was supposed to bring my daughter to Daniel Tiger Live last May, and it got canceled, and I was so bummed. But then I was talking to the director about it, and they've done so much virtually and they've done some Day of the Dead stuff that really like the young children that are part of like the Latin culture were so excited to be able to share that with their classmates. And now they're talking about doing that live once they can get back up and running. But they've done everything they can to kind of keep people employed, and they've hired somebody new to help live stream stuff. They've done a really good job of doing the best they can.
Yeah, I agree. I tell you, I'm pretty impressed with this list of how well people are making it through last year.
They've really tried to keep their employees.
There are actually projects where I really looked at it and said, there's no way they're continuing this percentage of the numbers. And they are doing an outstanding job, you know?
Yeah. You know, Full Moon Resort, the other thing I thought was great, and I just, for the board, was the 41% is amazing, because he's been operating on Airbnb revenue that he was able to make because of the project that we induced, so that he could do all those little cabins for people to stay. So that's the only way he's been able to stay afloat, is because of the
beautiful up there. Yeah, real nice.
So beautiful up there. Okay, hey, Rose, so that's it on my list here.
Could I just on Golden Hill, is it possible to get them at the meeting next week?
It's in 2 weeks, but yes.
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell him yes.
Okay, and we skipped over Viking. Do we want to talk about that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that one. So they're out of compliance only because they owe us a late fee. And then when we get to another page on here, you'll see on page 9, they also owe us some annual fees.
Okay. And you know what? We need to get a letter out to them. We need to put a sunset clause on it for a date. All right. And they need to respond in a timely fashion, obviously, by that date. And then we'll move from there, and we'll circle council in at that point.
Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mike. I mean, there were a couple of projects, not many, who said, well, we don't want to pay the fee. Well, we don't want to give you the inducement anymore.
That's what it comes down to, Rick. You know, everybody is agreeable, pre-application, pre-screen, everything, and trying to get the incentives, the inducements, the grant, or whatever have you. And then, living up to your end of the bargain at the end of it, it becomes a challenge for some people, and they don't want to agree to that. So no, as a board and, with a fiduciary responsibility to, to taxpayers, you got to stay on top of that. Right. And we're not being punitive, I don't think, and we're not being malicious when we do it. We're just telling them, if we have 200 clients in the queue, all 200 clients have to act accordingly, and they have to abide by the rules set forth in their agreement. So along those lines, like I said, we send Viking the letter, put the sunset clause on it, and let's see what the response is, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. That sounds good. So page 7 and 8 is the CPA report. Page 8 is really what matters, I guess. When going through this, almost everybody is still calculating wrong. I don't understand how, because to me it's very simple. You take the total hours, you divide by 1820. I don't get it. Okay. It's not, people aren't doing it to like overstate. They just aren't getting it. So as much as I hate to add to my workload here, I was really thinking maybe I seriously need to do like a training for the projects, and they can come or not come. But like, I just sat through a Paris training with the ABO, even though I did Paris last year. What is there I'm missing? Is there something I'm doing wrong? I wanted to know those things. And so maybe it would be helpful if we did that kind of thing once a year. And because let's say the staff changes over and it's a new person doing the reporting and they don't get it. And sometimes people don't understand things by reading them. Maybe they need to hear it. I'm happy to work through it and have some examples with people, but we have to do better. This has to be better. This is so bad how much is miscalculated.
Yeah. And Rose, that's a great idea. And, I think that aligns right up what we're going to be discussing here later on about the mentoring.
I think so too.
And, I don't see anywhere on this list where somebody cannot send one representative to sit on either a Zoom or come to meet with you.
Well, Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I was gonna say, I think Zoom really opened this up, like this
Mhm.
idea, because it's so easy. So there's no, like, anybody can be anywhere and
Yeah,
come to this meeting. I
yeah,
can share
right.
my screen and we can just go through it,
Mhm.
and you can ask questions, whatever. And I don't think it would cost, let's just say worst case scenario, it would cost the board maybe $500 or something because of prep for the meeting, whatever. That would be worst case. And I think it's worth a few $100 to get. I mean, this is really bad.
Yeah, but you want to know something, Rose? That accompanied with maybe a checklist that can go out to the clients also.
Yeah, but it would also save money on our
Mhm.
part, because
Correct.
when we're doing year-end reporting, I'm not dealing with people that haven't filled out the fact that they paid their pilot payments.
That's right.
They're not filling it out, and then it's taking extra time. And maybe I shouldn't have to explain to them why it's important, because they should do it because they have
know.
to do it. But I
Yeah.
think then maybe they'll understand.
Yeah.
You have to fill this out because I have to use this. So if we can, like, make it a little bit more real instead of just getting an annoying
Mhm.
packet in the mail, maybe they'll do it.
I think that's a great idea. And,
Okay.
We should move ahead with something like that.
Okay, great. And so maybe that's something we'll do in like January or December, so it's like fresh on the brain when they go to fill it out.
Well, I think, just a suggestion, I forget when you mail the packages out, but maybe do it the
Yeah.
month before you mail the package.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
can
I'm
get out
thinking.
in front of it, right? Yeah, maybe a month or two ahead of it.
Well,
I think
I was gonna say maybe in December. The only issue with that would be it's December and people are in
people are
holiday
away.
mode.
Yeah. I would hit it as early as November.
Yeah. Do you think that's too early? Like
I
2 months
don't think
before
so.
the packet goes out?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
December doesn't work. Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, forget it.
Mhm.
So do it in early November.
Early November? Okay. Okay, that sounds great. I just think it's gonna help going forward, and maybe it
agree.
won't. Maybe nobody will come, whatever, but we can try.
I agree.
And maybe I can specifically suggest to certain people. I was also thinking something we might want to do. Maybe I'll put together a letter, and it was not necessarily about the training, but that can be part of the letter. But
Mhm.
put together a letter for example, Albany Med Emergent Care, and just say, you reported 13.36. Our CPA checked the information and it was 10.6. As a reminder, FTEs are calculated by blah, 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 because everybody's going to get the same letter. I don't have to retype it. It's very easily, changed.
Yeah.
You just fill in the numbers.
Fill in the numbers. That's basically it. And then say, later on in the year, we intend to have a training. We really hope you join, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like we do owe it to them to tell them that what they're reporting is inaccurate.
Absolutely. This is not an easy process. I mean,
No.
I don't think people understand that, the depth of what happens here. So.
No. So I think we have to tell them that they're doing it wrong, and they won't know they're doing it wrong. And unfortunately, in the past, we've not done that. We've just moved forward. The other thing is ABO says to put the numbers in seriously. Put the numbers in wrong, don't put them in right, because we have to put in what our projects report back to us. And I said, but what if I know it's wrong? And they said, well, then you have to go back to the project and figure out why it's wrong and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we can't physically do that in that 3-month time frame. We can't.
There's not enough time for all the projects.
But we can try to do something to fix it going forward. So I think that's what we'll do.
Rose, quick question for you. What do we use? 35-hour week or 40-hour week?
35 hours, so it's divided by 1820.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Page 9 is our accounts receivable. It's so much smaller. We're doing great. But Amthor still owes us their annual fee from last year. No, I'm sorry. Annual fee from this year. They owe us the $100 CPA fee for this year, and they owe us the $1,000 late fee for this year because they've not given any reporting information.
A total of $2,750.
Their total Amthor is $1,600.
16.
Yes, Darien Lake is the Holiday Inn Express Lake Katrine. They owe us $1,600, which is the $1,500 annual fee plus a $100 CPA fee. Viking Industry owes us
that was Viking. Yeah.
Yeah, 2019's annual fee, 2020's annual fee, and then a $750 late fee.
That's the 2751. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
To
I
be
think we
clear-
decide, I think
Yeah.
we're sending letters like drop dead date letters.
Yes.
Give us the money. Please send us the money you owe us by this date, or
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
and that's
all you can do, Rick. You
That's
know,
all
we
you can
take
do.
it and we'll push it from there. And if they don't
Okay.
respond, we'll take
Just so
action.
you know, I'll let the board know too. Even though our policy says to issue late fees once it hits $500, I did not do that this year, and I didn't do it last year. Last year I didn't send late fees till $1,000.
Okay.
This year I walked it back to the $750, but we were very lenient. We very much tried.
Everybody
if somebody
worked with
missed
the
one
COVID.
thing,
Yeah.
we tried to work with them, but these were only for ones that were not responsive in getting this.
Yeah, it's one thing
We're not
trying
trying
to work with a
punitive.
client, and it's another
Yeah.
thing when they don't respond. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Page 10, I'm excited for. Rick and I met a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, I don't know how long ago now, and went through, Jimmy had the chair had the idea of a community benefit agreement, and to murder it with semantics here, but Rick and I were really discussing, I know you and I have discussed it, Mike, is not a community benefit agreement because that has a specific meaning. And so we really felt like it was a community investment agreement because you're investing in the community as a whole. And Rick, I had shared with the chair that we were really looking to push Ulster County as opposed to, like, I think Mike and I had discussed it too, as opposed to regional with our contiguous counties. We really would prefer Ulster. So what Rick and I did, Mike, was sit down and put ideas on paper. And then we thought we would bring it to governance to kind of hammer through it a little bit more. We understand this means changing the UTEP, so it's much bigger than just a policy. But before we could change the UTEP, we felt like we needed a policy. Then we can take that and build from there. And then Rick typed up the chart or the document here. I think you did a really good job on it, Rick, by the way. So if you want to take it from there.
Yeah. So Rick, go ahead. Just give us an overview here.
Just an overview. So I do want to say first that there are a couple of items in our current chart that I think the entire board believes we should change anyway, like things that are equivalent in terms of points, but they really aren't equivalent. So I just want to get that out of the way. And I listed them at the bottom of page 10 and the top of page 11 that maybe we need to deal quickly with some other items. But so putting that aside, so there was a notion that we've been kicking around, like, all right, after the pilot is all over and done with, and we've given the inducement, and we ask people to, we suggest to them, hopefully you'll be able to use a lot of the providers of services from the area. We do that with the labor, right? We have that labor agreement where you've got to use 75% of your construction staff has to be from Ulster and the contiguous, 6 counties, I guess. But well, what about other stuff once the project is over and done with and they're going through the 10 to 15 years or more of the project? What if we would get them to continue to use services from either Ulster and the contiguous counties or just Ulster? And I like the notion of Ulster.
Yeah,
I listed them in the middle of the page. Rose and I came up with some ideas in the middle of the page, and this would apply for post-project and even when they're in front of us. So, their legal representation, if they do have legal representation, or whoever's coming to them, whatever consultant is helping them, the notion of, we want you to use Ulster people. This is an Ulster program. We want you to use Ulster people. And then certainly after, where you get your supplies from, where you got your construction supplies from, where you get your materials from, who does your accounting, who does your advertising and marketing, so on and so forth, or as I like to say, yada, yada, yada. We want them to use Ulster people. The conundrum becomes, how do you track it? And is it everything? You know, at some point, you need to let, in my view, free enterprise, you know, kind of define who they go with. On the other hand, we don't want you using somebody from upstate New York when this is an Ulster County project. And if you do use somebody from upstate, fine. But similar to one project that used upstate construction company, they got no points when it came to labor agreements. Specifically, we told them, no, you get nothing. So somehow, is there a way that we can say, you know, if you use X number of local people and you can prove it, is it you get points, or is it a gating factor to even get the inducement? Question mark. I don't know if we can do that. You know, maybe you know how sometimes we get into a position of it's a difference of 1 or 2 points, and it can either be 10 years or 15 years or 5 years or 10 years. Well, maybe instead of allowing the monkeying around with points, and I use the word very loosely, monkeying around, but just getting over the hump, maybe to get over the hump between 5 and 10 and 10 and 15 is you have to show us a considerable number of local entities that you're dealing with and going to be dealing with on a go forward basis. And that's what gets you the 15-year versus the 10-year. So anyway, it's going to be difficult to get agreement. And I wonder aloud whether Joe Scott could be helpful in saying, you can't do half of the things you're thinking of doing, or you can, and hear who else is doing it somewhere else in New York State. Although Rose and I did make, or Rose, you made some inquiries, and you couldn't find anybody who has employed something like this. So it would be rather unique. And again, I just think in enforcing it versus encouraging it versus enforcing it, and the way to encourage it is, will you get something for something? And what do you get? Well, you get an extra point or two. So for example, the public transportation point, we give away a point or two for the project being near public transportation. Okay, I get it.
But it's out of their control. Yeah, you can't.
You know,
you can't
is that as important as using local contractors, as using local supply houses, as using local insurance companies? And my answer to that would be, well, they're at least equivalent. And then when you get into the environmental category, and this is going a little bit off topic, we have been a little loosey-goosey with that.
Light bulbs?
What?
Light bulbs.
Yeah, light bulbs. It's like, yep. Are you kidding me?
I know.
If you put solar on top of your building, or you had LEEDs status, okay, that's significant. So no, light bulbs don't count, but solar arrays do. So if we get rid of something that they're getting points for, rather, can we replace it with something? And perhaps this community investment notion is a way of replacing some really solid items where money goes from the induced project to local people in the community. It is a way of relooking at our UTEP chart. So other than that, this needs a lot of, and the other thing I wonder about aloud is, how do you define brownfield? Or how do you define shovel ready? What the heck is shovel ready?
Shovel ready and brownfield are sites that are already predetermined by the county or the state.
And so we need to perhaps, again, just define that better.
Yeah, the DEC is usually on board with all the brownfield sites, and they're pretty much dedicated. I usually have a running list of them. And the county the county does have shovel-ready properties. I believe Schrade is like a shovel-ready property.
That's shovel ready.
It is, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, so this is something that definitely gives back to the community in terms of buying services from the community.
Yeah, I think what I thought we had come up with that really made sense was also how, like Rick said, how do we track this without killing ourselves, right? Like I guess we could probably, like, if somebody said that they're using a local accountant, we could, like, if that's, I'm just making it up, we could, like, once a year, I could send a letter to that accountant and just verify, or an email and verify that they're using them, like, just something like that maybe, but pick one of the items that they said they were doing, so that we're not being, I don't know, how much do we want to track, like Rick was saying, but we do need to verify a little, as we've found out. So we wrote all of the ideas down and then went, okay, so what does this look like? And then thought we'd bring it here.
I think the biggest, I love it. Okay. But I think the biggest hurdle is going to be introducing it into the UTEP, because we got to watch out that we don't push other categories out the door. Currently you get 1 point for local hiring, and that encompasses the whole region. Okay. Whereas with something like this, if you've included that into your community benefits program here, that would be a different type of number coming in, but that would be local hiring dedicated to Ulster County now.
What if we just added another column?
I would think this could come in with a sub column, correct, to check the boxes.
Yeah, we were.
And if you check out a 5 out of 10 or 7 out of 10,
we were thinking, like, I'm making it up. 2 out of 10 is 1 point. 4 out of 10 is 2 points. And we're not saying that you have to pick your real estate broker here, but you have to pick 2 of these, something
correct.
like that.
You give it a bar and you say X amount has to be checked off in order to qualify for the community benefits point system under the UTEP. Yeah, I think this is great.
Yeah, we did talk, Mike. We did talk about another column, and it was in that context. It's like, well, while we're adding another column, we should take a look at some of the other stuff and redefine them a little bit better.
And then what we need to do is, and we don't want to take an administrative nightmare position on this where the tracking becomes horrific. Okay, so we want to dumb that down a little bit. Maybe have a pre-checkoff sheet that goes into the clients on a yearly basis where they just go down. Are you still retaining so?
You know what, though? We don't need to add a column. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen real quick. I just pulled up our current matrix. So we have a community investment column. So we could get rid of the bus stop. And then the development and economically distressed area of the county. We don't want to get rid of that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just trying to figure out, can that go to somewhere else? Could that not be a
I don't know if that moves up, because it seems to me that every time we come across that, that's an automatic 2 points, because I find it hard to believe, and I'll say it again, that, when you have 6 hotels side by side, and I said it once, at what point do you stop adding hotels to take it out of an economically distressed zone?
For those kinds of things, but that's for a retail project. Okay, but what if you're talking about, I'm making it up, a major manufacturer wants to come into an economically distressed area like Ellenville? Wouldn't you incentivize that a little further because they're choosing Ellenville that really needs the jobs?
Yeah, this is where you don't want to bite your nose off to spite your face.
Right,
you're correct.
Right.
You cannot lose it. I'm not saying you can lose it, but we need to, you need to reestablish it somewhere, where it's still in the, in the UTEP. Okay.
Yeah, or maybe this doesn't need to be in a column, and this is just a separate 2 or 3 extra points all by itself. Like, this is a separate issue. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true too. For 3 points, this could fall into a 3-point category where you could check, the client would be having to check X amount of boxes in order to even qualify for that point. You know what I mean? Because currently we've got a blank slot there, and this may be the place to insert that. I mean, you know, community benefit to me is, you know, and that's a discussion we'll have to have with the whole board and see what the feeling is with everybody. But, you know, that's the bang for your buck in Ulster County. Because now this is a policy that's created just for Ulster County residents. You see, I mean, there's currently, we all know, you can buy materials to build a facility in Kingston, all the way to steel. You can, you know, your market share of the people there for hiring will be here in Ulster County. You know what I mean? It's endless, and you have engineering, accounting, advertising here, legal services, insurances. I mean, the trickle down is fantastic with a program like this, and it benefits the community.
That's real interesting. You should say that, Mike, because when Rose does her cost benefit analysis, there's this notion of trickle down. You know, the project throws off benefit to the community, and that's included in that cost benefit analysis. Well, here is a way in which we can sort of ensure that happens. I would even, well, it ensures it because it asks if you want to get a point or two or whatever, you have to use local people. Otherwise, no.
And you know, Rick, I don't think you've designed this, and I don't think we're undertaking this mission here in order to alienate the surrounding counties. We're not doing that. What we're saying is there's an extra step you can take.
An extra benefit. Yeah,
that's correct.
There's a little bit of extra juice.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think it's innovative. I think it's great stuff. I don't know if any other place even uses something like that.
And I tried to find something to work off of, and I couldn't find anything. So Rick and I just went back to, okay, what does this mean? And just had to kind of start from scratch.
Yeah, we just brainstormed it.
It's good
stuff. If we were in the same room with the chalkboard, we would have been throwing stuff on a chalkboard.
I think it's really good stuff, and I really believe that at this point we take that, we put a subcommittee together, just like we did to determine how we were going to handle our pre-screen, and let them focus on, you know, bringing this right down. You know,
maybe get like a sub
committee. And you know, I think we recommend that to the chair. I really, Rick, it's you know, Rose will be there anyway, but it's your baby. I think we recommend to the chair that Rick picks a subcommittee, you know, and he furthers it straight down and move it ahead sooner than later, you know.
So Chair, I would make a motion that we just put this on the agenda for the, help me here, Rose, the whatever the date is.
21st, right?
21st.
Yeah, I'll second that, Rick.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so, sorry, is that a formal motion? And you seconded? Okay.
And I second it, yes.
Thank you, Rick.
Aye.
Mike. Yeah, I think I was really excited. Like by the time, you know, it started out a little slow for us, and then by the time we got to the end, I think we were both like just really excited with what we had come up with.
I think it's fantastic.
And I really think you did put it together in a really understandable, not note way. Rick, I was really excited when I saw the way you'd written it out.
You know, and
the notes were all over the place.
Yeah, I know, mine too. So I looked at this and went, wow, he did a good job with it.
And what you're doing there and what the board has been doing, each individual member, and, you know, and I tell you what, I attribute the chair for this also, is that he lets everybody run in their own direction to do something like this. He gives them longitude and latitude, you know, and he doesn't micromanage everybody to a position that he only believes. He takes all that input. So I think this is all good stuff moving ahead.
Yeah, this was really good. I was really pleased. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. So Rick, you'll have to think about
good stuff.
Who you want to have on this. Okay, page 12. Yeah. You guys had said we wanted to have a harassment policy.
Mm-hmm.
We had discussed last meeting bringing up the Ulster County one, and so I threw that in here. Any thoughts?
So Rose,
Yes.
I think this is wonderful in the sense of
it covers a lot.
It covers a lot.
Yeah.
Now, question mark for the board and for Joe. All right, it's good that the board have this in place. Does that also mean that, question mark, should it mean that we want this to be included in the legal documentation that is agreed upon between the IDA and all of the induced projects? So they also agree, by virtue of the fact that they're getting an inducement from Ulster County, that they comply with this harassment, discriminatory harassment process and procedure.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
It's a leap. So I'm going to argue against myself and then come back and argue in favor of myself.
Okay.
The one side of me says, oh, this is really government trying to insert itself into business. The other side of me says, yeah, and you're asking for us to insert ourselves in your business by giving you an inducement. So it's very much like, I mean, on the labor side, Mike, the unions in New York are attempting to get the Albany to agree that if you're going to give money to anybody to build and I'm paraphrasing, but to build a project with public monies, you have to comply with certain salary standards. Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with that. Why wouldn't we do something like this with regards to the projects? Is it too much of an insertion of nanny government? And I use the word just very loosely. I don't mean it in a derogatory sense. Or is it a way of extending the positive force of pushing this notion of no harassment in the workplace? And here's what that means. So, there's bifurcated when it comes to, is this a role that we should play, or is this a role that we should not play? Is this something we should ask just by virtue of we're a public entity and we're giving public benefits to companies? Why shouldn't we?
Rick, in my business, my boss has instituted that we all take a harassment course. Okay. And we brought in human resources and everything, and we've all met, with human resources in a whole, and we went over everything, and then signed at the bottom that we attended the course, we took the course, and we have an understanding of the policy in effect.
That's New York State law. The sexual harassment piece is New York State law. So it doesn't happen, but it is.
Is that something along the line where there's a lot of information to really understand here in this policy, this one from the county. But is that something along the lines where maybe there's a harassment policy put in? Are we so to touch off what Rick said, is it a harassment policy we're looking to include in our approval of inducements and grants or grants? Or is it a harassment policy that we're looking to have all our members understand that on the IDA board, we understand the harassment policy? Is it for the board members, or is it for the entire?
In my opinion, it's certainly for the latter. And I'm noodling with and throwing it out there. Why not also the former?
So yeah, because I'm thinking along those lines, if you take one of the projects that we currently have going, and they have they're currently moving ahead. Any of these clients or contractors or developers probably have that into play already, that has, that shadows their entire program or their job sites or anything that we're included in right now. Now, as far as moving ahead, you take, we'll take one of our clients that, is in manufacturing. You know what? He probably has a policy for harassment, in there already, moving ahead down the road. So I don't know. Do we regulate that just to these boards members? So our board members are on board with this, or are we?
It'd be an interesting question for Joe, because I'll be honest, I haven't recently read from cover to cover what he has in all his documents. I know there's quite a bit of information in there that references New York, under New York state law. You agree that you comply with the following, and then so maybe this is in there already, but I think it'd be interesting to have a discussion. Do we ask? I do too. Do we ask?
And I do believe that we currently do not have that policy in here.
No, we don't. We certainly don't. We should.
No.
Yeah, we definitely should. I mean, when we originally came up with adding this, we were talking about just as far as like our immediate
the board members.
People.
Yeah.
And
but now you start taking a broad look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I could certainly. So I think like action wise, right? Next step, I would send this to Joe and ask him if he saw any issues with it, and then we can bring this to the next board meeting.
Yeah, I would bring. We certainly need it for us, for the
adopt as is.
Yeah, adopt as is. Okay.
Barring any changes from council, right?
There you go.
And we should have that discussion about whether this gets extended to the projects that we use.
Oh, we skipped a page. My bad.
What did we skip?
Your mentoring program.
Oh, the mentoring.
Yeah.
Forgot about the mentoring.
Where did we skip that? Where was that, Rose?
Did that get missed? How did I miss that?
I don't think we had it on there, Rose.
No, it's in there. You know what? It got put on. How the heck did I do it? There's like.
It's under new business, but there's nothing in writing.
No, it's here. It's here. Wait.
Okay.
Hold on. Give me a second. It accidentally got put on page 20.
Okay.
Page 20?
Yeah, so at the end, 19 and 20, it's at the end of the harassment policy by accident.
Yeah. So as per the chair, this is his baby, and he has put us in a direction to come up with this and to move ahead. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't want to get pistol whipped by Jimmy by not addressing this now. So, and I think it's a good idea anyway, considering what we've been going through with clients and stuff, and how important it is that they understand the process. So, along with Rose, we kind of put, I know we're calling it mentoring, but it was put together, right, Rose, as an applicant checklist. Okay, because we're listening.
Yeah, you had one and I had one.
I read yours and I'm reading yours and I'm going, it's almost like the answers to the questions.
Yeah, so Rick, so what I had done here was, because Wendy was new, I was like, this is the perfect time to get some of the stuff. I told Mike to get some of the stuff out of my brain and on paper in case I get hit by a bus. So she went through, we tried to come up with all the steps for the way it works once you become a project. There are more checklists we will need to do, like what is your annual reporting? What are your responsibilities once you're a project? That could be a checklist. Like there are things like that. So I felt like we needed to first do something internally so that we could kind of get it all in order and make sense of it before putting something nice together for external use to give an applicant so that they know what it looks like. And then Mike at the same time had something from like his union stuff that was like, what is it, what are some major Q&A things that people would have as far as being a project, and kind of jotting those down. There's one thing I was thinking I wanted to add though to my list. It's not an item.
Yeah.
Based on our annual site visits and feedback from applicants, right now, people very much understandably want to know what their legal fees are going to be from us before closing.
Yeah.
And in our application right now, it says, if you would like an estimate, you can get one by blah, blah, blah. So instead of doing that, I think we literally make it part of this new project checklist where they automatically get that
request.
from council.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
I agree. And, and the ones that I threw out there on paper are just the basics that I think we undergo with every one of the potential applicants. And, annual fees, obligations. How about this one? When can I start construction or renovation? How soon? We just ran through it. Somebody thought that they could just call the building department and begin the process without our approval. And we all know that's, you can't do that. Application monies, restrictions of the funding. Okay. We went through that with Brooklyn Bottling. Remember in the beginning, we had a lot of ups and downs on what they could apply it to and what they couldn't and what was existing. I mean, this is all, there's way more questions asked than that, but I think a good start is in mentoring, because I think our pre-screens do a great job in calling the applicants back to have a second pre-screen, and I think even on the IDA's end, I think with the chair giving us longitude and latitude to have three people on the pre-screen, that we get to mix it up, and other people get to come in, which we've done before. I think it's good stuff. Everybody has good questions.
So we do all of these things that you put, like we go over it, but I think putting it in writing is an important step. And
here's your package.
In writing in the application, but that's 30 pages and nobody's apparently reading the fine print.
Hey, Rose, not only here is the package, but do me a favor, sign at the bottom that you receive the package and you understand, and you now come back and ask a couple questions without making Joe Scott their attorney. Okay. You see,
that's a real problem.
That is a problem, because now, once again, that's a double dip. We're paying Joe as the IDA, the county. He's retained for our purposes. He's not the applicant's attorney. So,
and I think less is more. So try to answer all of these in as few words as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So that
one word. Yeah. If they could answer them. Yes, no. Yeah.
Because so that people can very clearly see, because all of these things are defined in the application, but it's huge and people aren't reading them, and we need it to be very clear. And I think, so my thought was, we take these things, then I'll do another one. I want to send it to Joe to review also. Once we get through the different sort of checklists for internal use, then I thought I would get a subgroup together, not a committee.
Yes, we put another little committee together to address this. Correct.
And then we make it look pretty.
Yeah.
And then we can give that to potential applicants as well as to economic development, etc.
Perfect. I think it's all good stuff. And you know what it is, Rose? I say 100% of some of these questions that I'm relating you to. I know, hey, no stress on you. It's not a test. Me and Rick aren't going to sit there and mark you wrong, but you're going to have to answer the majority, all of these. So, I mean, in some of them, basic stuff. Should I have an attorney or a consultant? We just went through that. Absolutely. Just as the chair just told us a little while ago, about the consultants and stuff and working with people. Application and closing processes, the timeline. That's the big one, right? What's everybody asks us? How soon?
Yeah.
It's a timeline. It's not like
soon.
It's done tomorrow. You got to do this. We have to put it out to the public. How many days? 15 days in advance? Whatever, there's a lot of work, and if there's a public hearing, there's fees associated with that, but people don't understand. Okay. I mean, we're absorbing some of those fees too. I mean, do we absorb like when we have to stamp everything and mail it out? Or does the client absorb that? That's a lot of money.
You're right. We've been absorbing it. I probably could pass it back, but we don't.
I know that. And not to mention, in the past, I got to tell you, we have really worked, hand in hand with applicants. And and it is what it is. But if you start running some numbers and some hours on how much Joe has applied, or you, Rose, that you were working directly for the IDA along with Joe, and all of a sudden we're like outsourcing you, but we're picking up the tab, you know, and that's one of the reasons we
a
want to
lot for applicants that don't come in with some kind of professional to help them through the application. You know, Joe, they pay for directly, but for me, every time I have to stop and meet with these people and answer the same question 12 times, it's a waste of your money as well.
And even when they come in with a consultant, it doesn't always mean that they've got.
No,
but it does help. It does help because the consultant at least understands that a balance sheet balances.
We should do some. Seriously, we should do some mentoring of the people that are putting themselves out there as consultants. But
hey, Rick, you know what? There's no sense of doing it through the IDA. Start your own business.
Do it, Rick. Do it.
Rose, just as an aside, Mike kind of brought it up. Who pays for the person who does the transcription at a public hearing?
The applicant does pay that.
The applicant does. Okay. All
right. I knew there were a lot of stuff picked up by the applicant.
The advertising in the Freeman or whatever paper, but as far as us mailing, like I mail stuff hard copy to Joe, I don't necessarily think about. I've never thought about adding that back to the client.
You know, some of these things is the cost of doing business, and you know what?
Some of it we've eaten, but
some of it is.
I don't want to soak the applicants. On the other hand, you know, everybody paying their fees, their annual fees, all of that helps defray the cost going forward.
I agree. At the end of the day, Rick, sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze, and you just keep moving on, you know, to get the job done.
Chair, there's one other thing. It looks like we're getting towards the end. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know whether it should be here or audit, so I'm gonna bring it up. See what you say. I know that we talked in this committee about fees for copies under the Freedom of Information.
The FOIL.
Joe will have that by April 12th.
He
had to fix the issues, and yes, I've given him the April 12th deadline for that as well.
Because that has been a nettlesome issue that's been costing us a lot of money.
The last FOIL was 10,000 pages. 10,000.
10,000. At 35 cents a copy.
At 0 cents a copy.
That's a lot of guacamole.
It is a lot. It is a lot. I was quite frustrated.
Okay, I'm glad we're getting it resolved.
Okay. All right, where are we at here?
So it's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. Are we?
Yeah, maybe we should carry over some of this for the next governance.
Yep. So everything else. So from policy for retain of all or part of financial assistance down, we'll move forward to the next meeting.
That is correct. That sounds good. All right. Public comment, Rose.
I think it's safe to say there's none.
Nobody likes listening to governance. Horrible.
I know. This is where all the exciting stuff happens.
Listen, I don't want to cast shade on Diane, but this is the best committee. That audit committee.
Yeah, but she's on this committee at least, right?
I know. But Diane said that, you know, with her not feeling well this morning, and I said, well, don't worry, Diane. I'm sure we'll have plenty to push over to audit. I said so.
Put her in charge of a committee. She wasn't here.
There you go.
There you go.
She's not here right now, so let's vote her to head up one of the committees, the research. Yeah. Okay. No public comment. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Rose. Next meeting we'll
want to call.